Hey friends, I know how exhausting it can be to keep up with the tracking of your money. I don't want to do it, and I know you don't want to do it. You don't have the time, the desire, you just want something simple, and that is exactly what I am giving you today. In today's episode, you're going to learn how to ditch the traditional style of tracking your money and lean into a simpler tracking system. This one takes less time and allows you to see what is going on in the moment without carrying around a huge tracking planner or relying on apps. So go get your drink, open your heart to God, and let's dive in. If you're ready to build wealth, ensure financial security, stop overspending, and finally create a budget you can stick to, you mama are in the right place. Hi, I'm Molly, a budget coach and financial strategist who went from living paycheck to paycheck to paying off debt, saving money, and going on vacation, all by budgeting. And I help mamas just like you budget and create God-centered systems and routines so that you too can have financial freedom. Now stop pinching those pennies and let's dive in. So you want to learn how to budget. You want to stop living paycheck to paycheck so you can do more than pay bills and eat food. You want to stop cutting costs simply to make it by. You want to lose the stress and exhaustion that boils up inside of you every single time you think about money. What if I told you that could be you next month? You could shed the stress, the worry, the exhaustion. You could start paying off debt, reaching financial goals, and start building wealth. Can you feel the stress melt away? I know I can. I can feel it for you. I can feel it for me. It just feels so good to let that go, knowing that there is a way to get through this, and it could be as soon as tomorrow, right? So this could be your reality, and all you have to do is get yourself some budget coaching. Next month, you could be stress-free of all of this. So don't wait one more minute. Send an email to mollybennell@gmail.com right now with the subject line budget coaching. Again, that's Molly Bennell. So that's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL @gmail.com, and be the first of 3 to get your coaching half off. I could set up budgets and plan my life away all day long. But, when it comes to tracking that budget and the plan, I fall short. I don't want to do it. I do not enjoy having to write down every single thing that my husband and I bought, throughout the entire month. I've tried it, and follow through was extremely painful. It was not possible. I've tried apps. I've tried using a register like what our parents did before us because they didn't have the digital stuff, right? And nothing has worked for me until I came up with the system that I currently use, right? So that's why I came up with it anyways, was because I just couldn't stick with the traditional way of budgeting. It was not easy. It was time consuming. And maybe if it's finally was something that I stuck with and was able to be disciplined about and could do constantly, then yeah, it would probably become easier because I'd master it, right? I'd figure out how to do it faster, quicker, easier. But it's not something that I personally really enjoyed, and so I just threw it to the side. And instead of trying to beat a dead horse with something that I've done multiple times and tried multiple times, I decided to look at it from a different perspective, to look at it from a way that actually felt like it was something that I could do, that I could follow through and stick with. So don't get me wrong. Yes, I do have a system for reviewing what I have spent over the quarter, but I don't necessarily worry about the month to month simply to stick to my budget, and I will share why. And I know that you're right there with me because traditional tracking, it's time consuming, it's monotonous, it just feels, I don't know, it feels icky to me. It kind of feels like I'm being what's the word? Controlling, which I know is all a mindset thing, but it's still not a feeling that I like. So instead, I decided to do a whole totally different system, and that is what I am sharing with you right now. Okay, so step number 1, you have to separate everything out. In a traditional budget, everything is in one account. Everything is all in one location because, back then they didn't have the option of multiple checking accounts, or they just stored all their money in one little shoebox or something underneath their bed or in their closet or somewhere because they didn't have the options to do what they could or what we can now, right? And I totally applaud my parents and my grandparents for being able to do the traditional style of budgeting, to write out a check and then instantly put it in their register because that was so easy. But when it comes to doing that with your debit card, like there's so many feelings that come up, and maybe that's something that we work on because there are times that we do need to have a register, and I will tell you that, a little bit later. But those are the times where we need to get through those icky emotions where we're like, oh, I don't want to do this, and just do the thing, right? But simply to stick to your monthly budget, don't worry about it, right? The first step, like I said, is to separate it all out. And I do that through the digital cash envelope system. I suggest having 6 to 8 accounts, and I do have an episode on that you can look into and learn what those accounts are. But just to make it simple for right now, because I don't want to dive into that, just have roughly 6 to 8 accounts to separate your money out into so that you don't have to look at one large lump sum. This leads then into step number 2, which is when you are trying to keep track of your income and spending as you use it, you're able to quickly look at your accounts. Like simply all you have to do is look at your bank accounts because you're most likely going to have a specific account for a specific category or a specific purpose, right? You're not going to have multiple things in one account. Now, there are times, for instance, like the family account, where I do have multiple things inside of it, which I will share my next step on how to take care of that. But before we get into that, just by separating everything out and being able to watch your accounts instead of having to constantly do the math and constantly write things down and figure out where you're at in each and every budget, because even though back then, they had their registers, it's not like they were like, oh, I've got to register for this category and I've got to register for this category. No, it was still all together. So when you are tracking and writing everything down, you still have to go through and figure out how much is left in that budgeted area, in that category. And again, that takes time. It's not easy to do. You can try to keep it in your brain, but I promise you from experience, it's not going to work. Like your brain is not going to be able to remember every single detail to the T, especially when your emotions come into play and you're out there ready to buy something right then and there and people are watching you and going, are you going to buy it? Are you not going to buy it? Okay, you're in the line. Do you have the money for it? Do you not have the money for it? Like those are real emotions that are going to get in the way of what you're trying to think of. Do I have the money for this or do I not? Is everything budgeted out correctly or am I off? Am I going to affect my bills being paid or is something else going to be affected, right? You no longer have to question. You know what is going on with your money when you have everything separated out and you can look at your bank account to see how much money is left in that account. Now, moving on to step number 3, when there are categories or accounts that have more than one category, the way that I take care of this is by using my number 1 rule, which is buying important things first. I do this in my family account. So in my family account, we have our groceries in there. We have our eating out money and fun money for the family. We have our animal feed, because when I go to town, those are the three things that I take care of. And so the way that I take care of this is I do a Walmart pickup order for my things that I like to use for the Walmart pickup order for. I don't like to get produce that way because it's generally not the best choices of produce, right? They're just trying to get rid of whatever's there. And I'm like, I want to go in and pick that. So I do a grocery pickup order so that I can get what I want and they can do it for me. And it can cut back on the amount of time that I spend in town, because it's a 45-minute drive there and a 45-minute drive back. And that's if I'm lucky. Like sometimes it can take up to an hour. And so I like to cut back on the amount of time that I'm spending in the store itself so that maybe we can do something fun kind of thing, right? And so we do a Walmart pickup order, but also that helps me keep track of how much money I'm spending in the moment instead of going, ooh, I want to get this. Ooh, I want to get this in the store. Now, don't get me wrong. I still fall into that trap sometimes. But using this system, this buying important things first, allows me to prevent that from keeping me from getting the things that I need. So I do the Walmart pickup order first. Then when I go to town, the first thing I get, not only because of space, because I do need to make sure that my groceries will fit, I get my animal feed. So I get the dog food, the cat food, the chicken feed, whatever I'm needing that pay period. And I get it first so that I don't go to the grocery store and do exactly that, where I just buy the produce and everything else that I forgot in the Walmart pickup order and give in to the, oh, I need this and I need this and I need that kind of thing. It helps me make sure that what I need to buy right then and there is taken care of. And then whatever is remaining after I get my groceries picked up and then I go through Walmart and get the produce that I need, what's left over is our fun money. That's what we get to eat out on. That's what we get to do fun activities on. For instance, like it's coming up to October, which means there's going to be pumpkin patches and fun stuff like that, or going out and getting ice cream as it's still September and enjoying the last few days of the warm summer months, right? Because that is quickly coming to an end where I'm from. So that is how I take care of that. I separate everything out. Like, it makes it so much easier when you're not looking at a lump sum. When you see everything together and you look at your bank account, because trust you me, that's how you're checking how much money you have anyways. You are getting on that bank account and you're like, okay, I've got this much money, but you're not thinking about whether it's going to affect your bills. You're not thinking about whether it's going to affect your financial goals or being able to save money or pay down that debt, right? You're just like, I've got the money, I'm golden, let's go buy the thing. Instead, when you separate it out, you have money spending freedom, because you don't have to stress over that. You know that your bills are going to be paid because you have a bills account. You know that you're going to have some savings because you've got savings accounts to put that into. And there's so much more freedom in your spending because you're like, yes, I can buy this without consequence. Now, there might still be a little bit of a consequence, because if you use all the money at the beginning of that pay period, then you're not going to be able to spend anything later on, right? But you have that choice, and you know that nothing is going to be affected other than maybe your emotional state, because you're like, man, I wanted to do this other thing and I've already spent all my money for that budgeted category, right? And it just brings freedom and safety to your spending. So then when you separate it out, you're able to watch your accounts to make sure that you are sticking to your budget. And then when you do have accounts that have more than one category in them, you buy your important things first, that whatever's left over, you don't have to stress over whether you are going to affect buying that thing. And when I say buying important things first, I do mean like when you get that money, you go to the store the next day or whatever day it is, and you buy that stuff right away so that you don't have the time to spend the money without being able to buy that important stuff first, right? So you want to make sure you get that done right away so you don't have to worry about that. And that's just, it takes the stress out of it. It takes the freedom out of it. Now, if you do end up using that fun money on that kind of stuff, then maybe that's a period or a season that you're in and that's the way it is, right? But that's because you chose that, right? When you set up your budget, you knew that's what it was going to be like. And so in order for you to have that fun money, you have to work on being frugal, you have to work on being disciplined and work on all this other stuff so that you are able to stick to that budget. Okay, so then number 4, this is another step that, yes, you do have some tracking, and that's going to be in categories like your savings accounts that's going to be in accounts like your savings accounts because there are going to be more than one category in your savings accounts, especially if you put sinking funds all in one savings account, which is something that I suggest doing. And tracking that and keeping up with that is something you want to be able to do so that you know how much money you have. But it's not something that you're doing on a monthly basis. This is something that you're doing when you transfer that money out and you use it, then you write it down and you know where you're at, right? It's not something you're constantly doing. It's a lot easier. It's a lot simpler. It's less time consuming because it's 1 or 2 purchases here and there versus every single week kind of thing, if that's how you spend. And it just makes it so much simpler when you're tracking just the necessities versus every single thing altogether. That's just, it's a headache, it's time consuming, and it can just be a lot. And that is why this system just takes the stress out of it. It makes it so that you are able to stick to your month-to-month basis budget without all that stress, without all the worry and the fear, giving you spending freedom to be able to do what it is that you need to do in the moment and having a way to combat those emotions because you're able to see right then and there very easily, very quickly, how much money you have and if you can buy it or not. There's no questions asked. It's right there is your answer. So that is my system. I really enjoy this system and I hope that you take it and that you're able to run with it and that you are able to glean with it some information that just helps you further your budgeting journey, right? So if you didn't hear at the beginning of the episode, I want you to know that this is what I want to help you do. I want to help you set up that budget. I want to help you learn how to stick to that budget. And I do that through budget coaching. Budget coaching is simply us getting together, we build your budget, and then we work through whatever struggles you're having with your spending. Now, the budget itself is going to eliminate a whole lot of things because there's going to be boundaries put in place. You're going to be able to see what's going on. It's going to make things so much easier, but there's still going to be things that make it difficult to follow through with. And so that's why we have a couple calls later on so we can work through the struggles. We can work through the things that you're finding that are coming up that you just really need some help with, right? So I don't want you to do this alone. I want you to get the help that you need. And I hope and pray that this is something that you maybe are looking forward to. And if it is, then I want you to send an email, or maybe you just want to learn more information about it, but send an email to mollybennell@gmail.com. So that's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL @gmail.com. And get some budget coaching for yourself. And also, right now, there's a sale going on. You can be the first of 3 to get the coaching half off. So if you want to learn more, again, send an email to mollybennell@gmail.com right now. And I look forward to seeing you in my inbox. Hey mama, I pray that today's episode has inspired you and grew you. If so, will you please share it with that friend who is praying for a budget breakthrough and leave a rating and review so that you can help get the podcast out to other mamas struggling with their budget. Also, get some support for yourself by joining my free Facebook group and becoming an insider, where you get weekly support emails and are the first to find out when something new is on its way. You can find the links in the show notes, and I will see you right back here next Tuesday.